So let's talk about JavaScript objects, our second data structure after arrays. So just like arrays, objects are going to help store multiple pieces of data together in some sort of structure. But unlike arrays, where the whole point is to order our data, right? If there's a first thing, a second thing, a third thing, that's not the case with objects. Instead, our data is stored using what we call key value pairs or properties. So a property is just two pieces of information, a key, like a label, and then a value. And they form a pair. And an object is just a bunch of these pairs. So on the right side, you can see this diagram. An object obviously does not look like this. It doesn't really look like anything to us, but I like to imagine it as this wiggly amorphous blob, a sack full of these properties, little pieces of data where there's not an order, there's not a priority, it's just these pairs. So we can store whatever we want. There are restrictions, we'll talk about that, but we can store things like age is 20, city is Tulsa, zip is 91003, is admin is true or false, favorite color is purple. Whatever these pieces of information are, key value pairs, we put them in an object, and then we can access them back out using a custom key, whatever we store them in under. So imagine we needed to store this sort of data here. This is information from a Fitbit or something similar to a Fitbit application, where it stores different types of data, or it tracks different types of data, like the number of floors you've climbed, the number of total steps, the number of total active minutes, the total, total miles, how restful your sleep is. How would we store this using JavaScript? We could use an array, but it'd be kind of janky to do something like, what would we do? We'd just put the numbers in here, so 308,000 would be first. How do you know what that is? 308,000. And then let's say you burn 1,200 calories. Okay, this is not very helpful to see. We just have to know for sure that the first thing, I already forgot, what is it, steps? And the second thing is calories? It's just not practical. So this is where an object comes in. We can instead label things. There's not really an order here that matters. It's all about labeling our information, giving it a name. This is total steps. Total floors, 1,800. Total miles, 211. So here's how we would do that using an object. We'll go into the syntax in more depth in the next video, but notice how we have a key and a value. Total steps is 308,727. Total miles, 211.7. Average calorie burn, 5,750. That's not a number. 5,755. Workouts this week, 5 of 7. Average good sleep, 2 hours, 13 minutes. These are all properties. They are a pair, each one. We have 5 pairs of information. There's no real order. The order doesn't matter at all. And they're all floating around inside this one shared object. And we stored it in a variable called Fitbit data. So remember, a property is a key and a value. And we need to use that key to get our data back out. Here's an example of some other key value pairs. These are things we could store. Maybe we're modeling a person or a post, a blog post, or a comment. I think this is actually a comment here where there's a username for who created it. So username, crazy cat lady. Number of upvotes, 7. The text of the comment, great post. Maybe we have the time. Maybe we have the is admin or security level or something like that for the user. All of these are pieces of data that wouldn't really make sense to store in a list or an array, right? We could store whatever you want in an array, but structurally it just doesn't make sense. Some things definitely do, right? When there's a clear order, when it's a collection of especially homogeneous or very similar things. But this is just a collection of different pieces of information. They're related in the sense that they all have to do with a comment or a post or something on a website, but that's kind of it. So an object lets us do that. An object lets us create these key value pairs where we don't need to use a number to access a piece of information, right? If I have an array with certain things in it, I'm going to need to access that data out using an index of 0, index of 2. But if I have an object, I can access my data by saying, hello, Fitbit data, please give me average good sleep. Please give me total steps. And assuming it knows what I'm talking about, and it's a property that exists, there's a key called total steps, it will fetch it for me. It will return it to me just like it would if it were an array and I used an index. So in the next video, we'll start creating some objects and see how we can access data out.